This time I'd like to call to order the May 11, 2011 Planning Commission meeting. Let the record show that all commissioners are present. This time we'll go ahead and we will take up the approval or denial of the proposed agenda.
I make a motion that we accept the proposed agenda.
Have a motion to approve the proposed agenda by Milton Cluott.
Second.
Seconded by Bob Nance. Any discussion or opposition? Motion passes. Item 4 on the agenda is the approval or denial of the minutes of the March 21st, 2011 Special Planning Commission Master Plan Subcommittee meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sadler.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion to approve the March 21st, 2011 Special Planning Commission Master Plan Subcommittee meeting minutes by Daniel Sadley, seconded by Bob Nance. Is there any opposition or discussion? Motion passes. Item 5, approval or denial of the minutes of the April 4th, 2011 Special Planning Commission Master Plan Subcommittee meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sadley.
I have several corrections to those particular minutes. The first would be on page 2 of the minutes in question, where it speaks of a comment that I made, sort of middle of the page, by not funding the Master Plan Subcommittee to do their work. Mr. Sadley asked if the governing authority of the parish is saying funds for this effort is not needed, or are they saying it is not fiscally imprudent? The word should read prudent as opposed to imprudent. On page 3, a comment from Mr. Tim Terrio expressed his disappointment in the administration for not waiting to fund the effort of the Planning Commission and the residents of Ascension Parish. R-E-S-I-D-E-N-C-E. Shouldn't that be residents?
Right.
T-S, as opposed to the C-E at the end of that word? Residents of Ascension Parish. Later on that same page, Samantha Thibodeau expressed the silence. She expressed that the silence of other commission members is deafening, so forth, so on. I think we should insert the word that in front of the word the. Page 4, I don't see any problems. Page 5, also 2 more corrections. Reference to a comment I made, sort of middle of the page. Mr. Daniel Sadley asked the 2 councilmen present tonight to speak with their colleges and question whether or not the governing authority has ever considered blah, blah, blah. I think colleges should be colleagues. Change colleges to colleagues. And then under the formal commission action, where it was moved by Mr. Nance and seconded by Mr. Cluott, I think where it says, if it fails, take it to the full council thereafter. Insertion of the word it after if, I believe, would be appropriate. Otherwise, I see no further corrections.
Any other corrections from any other commissioners?
I move to approve with corrections.
Have a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections stated by Commissioner Sadley, by Commissioner Nance.
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sadley. Is there any opposition or discussion? Motion passes. Item 6, approval or denial of the minutes of the April 11th, 2011 Special Planning Commission Master Plan Subcommittee meeting. Any comments or questions from commissioners?
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve the April 11th, 2011 Special Planning Commission Master Plan Subcommittee minutes by Commissioner Nance, seconded by Commissioner Cluott. Is there any opposition or discussion? Motion passes. 7, approval or denial of the minutes of the April 13th Planning Commission meeting.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Nance, seconded by Commissioner Cluott. Is there any opposition or discussion? Motion passes. Approval or denial of the minutes of the April 13th, 2011 Joint Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bob Nance, seconded by Commissioner Kluot. Is there any opposition or discussion? Motion passes. Item 9, this time we'll go ahead and open up the public comment period. Anyone wishing to come up and address the commission, please sign in with the secretary, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. Mr. Quintmore.
Good evening. Before we want to start hearing the plats, and before I didn't want to bring it up during the plats, I wanted to just touch on two basic issues. The first one was we have a situation where renaming lots or renaming tracts to lots in any subdivision in the simple partition has been brought up or shown back in my comments. This derived months ago, where the planning department wanted us to take all parcels of land that were designated as tracts, and any time they were subdivided, to rename them lots. Well, that became a certain situation where if you had a tract A next to a lot A1, and you went to subdivide that tract A to tract A1, well, then you had to rename it lot A1 instead of tract, and then so you had two lots on the side of each other with the same designation. This supposedly came out of the state statutes, is where they got their information, and this is where they interpreted the state statute as to read this way. The problem was a professional who, there was no professional used in determining exactly what the state statute said, nor was there any in the particular profession of surveying consulted with the problems that would result from renaming tracts to lots. And so you're seeing it back in the comments again, although I have documented 6 plats that were approved by the Planning Commission this year in 2011 with tract designations, which was okay with me. I don't mind, because I don't like the practice of changing tracts to lots, but that is the case. And so now you're going to see it in my comments tonight, and I just wanted to address that. The second issue was we had discussion about T-turnarounds with the Postal Service being involved in certain information that was basically hearsay, because we have nothing written down on what the postmaster's stance is on T-turnarounds or L turnarounds or whatever the circumstance. So I called the postmaster or one of them and had discussions and point blank asked them if a citizen was going to dedicate a T-turnaround, were you guaranteed that you were going to deliver mail? And the response was, no, there are several factors in delivering mail down private servitudes of passage, and of course safety was a big one, but that involved several different circumstances, and not just for the T-turnaround. I have yet to be able to get a letter from anybody at the Post Service stating their stances on T-turnarounds, unfortunately. So again, we're back to the hearsay of me telling you my conversation with them, just as we received earlier information in the same fashion. So nonetheless, I just wanted to approach both those issues before the plats came up tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No one else signed up to speak, so the public comment period is over. Item 10 on the agenda, public hearing to approve or deny the following family partitions. 10A, the Stacy L. Duplessis et al. Property, tracks 1-A-1 and 1-A-2.
Getting Clint Quintmall, W.J. Quintmall Surveyors, asking for Planning Commission approval on the Stacy L. Duplessis et al. Family partition to subdivide tract 1A2 out of a 243 plus or minus acre tract.
Comments or questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Sadler?
on the first page of in our packet, under this family petition, it says the owner is proposing a family petition of track 1A into track 1A2, 242.15 acres, and track 1A2, 1 acre. Shouldn't that read the first track 1A2 be relabeled 1A1? Because then it says track 1A2 will be given to the applicant's daughter, while track 1A1, which is previously unmentioned, will be retained by the applicant. Is that just a typo, or?
Jeff?
Yes, that is just a typo. It should read tract 1A1, the first.
So the change is track 1A2 will become, the first time it's referenced, 1A1, the 242 acres.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? There's no comments or questions from commissioners at this time, then I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to come up and address the commission on this item, please sign in with the secretary, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay. No one wishing to speak. Public comment period on this item is closed. Comments or questions from commissioners? Mr.
I
Dalton?
noticed that we have a staff recommendation addressing comment of contingent on 1, 2, 3, and 5, but they skipped over 4, which is the T turnaround being included. So I'd
Just-
like to get some more information about the T turnaround.
They recommend, staff recommendations for denial of the variance. If you look at the staff recommendations, they have two,
Did any of y'all go out and look at the property? You could turn a train around out there. You don't need a T-turnaround.
Well, a T turnaround would normally be paved.
no.
No.
A T-turnaround is just a set aside so that there can be ample room for turnaround. It keeps somebody from building something there that would interfere from
Right.
turning around. It's just basically establishing a mechanism to do it. Is there room, there's physically room there, but is it dedicated for that? No. And, what if the variance doesn't, what if the Board of Adjustment doesn't approve this variance? Are you prepared to remove it?
Oh, are we talking about the chicken coops now?
Yes.
Are we prepared to kick the chickens out?
Mr. Quintmall,
Yes.
pardon me, Mr. I've got it. That's a brick building, isn't it? That's an older brick building.
Yes, sir. It's part of the sugar mill from the Hermitage plantation.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kluwat.
I'd like to address the T turnaround. The rite of passage that they have going right now and it ends, the rite of passage stops in a wide open field. They had horse trailers and cow trailers back there, 18-wheelers type thing. And to me, putting a T turnaround at the end of the servitude right now would really hurt any future growth or future development of that property. If a fire truck needs to turn around, he has an astronomical amount of room to turn around. A T turnaround at the end of this private servitude, I feel would not, at this particular time, would not serve no benefit other than just to waste the land in one sense. That is my opinion.
Thank you. Okay, if we could, I'd like to, Mr. Dumas had a question about the chicken coop, and I touched on it too. I'd kind of like to get that resolved.
We're gonna remove it if the Board of Adjustments doesn't approve it.
That I'm really not sure of. I'd have to talk with my family. I'm pretty sure they'd like to leave it. They have chickens in there now, and they pick their eggs and whatnot.
Okay. Well, I noticed it is a brick building. It's not just something that, and I think since that's an older building also, just picking it up and moving it may not be,
It's not gonna
An
be an
easy
easy
option.
task.
No, it's not going to be easy to move at all. And not to mention the fact that, as you said, I was not aware that it was part of an old sugar plantation.
Yes, sir.
But, I mean, I think I also think that there's a problem with creating essentially what this is going to create is a setback issue. Is there any way that you can design around that, Clint?
Due to the large setbacks in conservation, being 10 foot on each side, 20 foot, I'm aware that it causes an issue, but what is the reason for setbacks? I believe it's a safety issue, and I'm trying to figure out what safety issue we need to have for chickens. It's really, you know, I'm refrained from going into how I personally feel about this, but it's just chickens, and it's a chicken coop. To move the building, the bricks, and what it is, they've already talked about removing some certain buildings, and they couldn't recover a lot of the bricks that just broke, and so.
Clint, the issue is that the law is clear. You meet the setback. We don't have the authority to waive the setback. The Board of Adjustment does.
Correct.
So, you know, I mean, it's not a matter of whether it makes sense or not. It's the law is the law. So, I mean, I think that, you know, maybe it's an issue of the amount of land. Maybe there's going to have to be more land that you're going to have to include into that lot, or adjust the servitude some way. But I'm sure that it looks to me like you've got plenty of room to work around that thing.
Do you see the old building? That's I had to make a choice on doing an encroachment there or an encroachment on chickens, and I chose chickens.
You mean the old residence?
You know, you see where it says old building? It's right on the right side of the bearing distance of 4287. You see that setback
Yeah, I see
line?
that one.
Just that was the determining factor to go into the chickens, because I
Yep.
couldn't make it in between the building.
Yeah, but I think the determining factor is also the fact that you only, out of the 200 acres, you only carved, out of 240 acres, you only carved out 1 acre. I mean, you
Correct.
conceivably make this larger and get around the setback issue.
Well, I'm certainly hoping that the Board of Adjustments can see the issue here and grant us the variance. So I think we'll proceed with hopefully them seeing the sense in this and hopefully granting us the variance.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, I'd much rather you go to the Board of Adjustment first,
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Oh, first, what difference would it make if you granted me approval? If I didn't get it,
Well, if you
then I
didn't get
couldn't
it,
approve it.
well, if you don't get it, then you'd be back over here redoing your subdivision, right?
So you're going to put us off a month so I can come back another month and then go to the Board of Adjustment? I mean, you're going to put me off either way. All you're doing is costing the client time. You're going to push it back either way.
Well, you know, I don't know that we can approve a subdivision that doesn't meet code.
Contingent upon approval from the Board of Adjustments.
And then what happens if you get denied by the Board of Adjustment?
Then I have to come back here, and my client understands that.
It seems, okay, well, it seems to me like you're putting the cart before the horse, so to speak.
Mr. Kluwat.
Clint,
Yes,
it says chicken pen and coop.
correct.
Is the building that's marked old building, is that the coop itself?
No, the old building is a separate building
Okay.
on the part of several, you know, it's it used to be a plantation farmland. So there's several buildings, you know. For
So you're
storage
really
and
not
things like
showing the full coop itself. You're just showing the outline of it where
that. Yeah, it's
it
not much
protrudes.
bigger.
It
Correct.
protrudes the setback lines, okay.
Correct.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? All right, if there are no comments or questions from commissioners, what is the wish of the commission?
I make a motion that you approve this, subject to approval of the setback waiver by the Board of Adjustment. In the event that the Board of Adjustment does not grant the waiver, then the applicant understand that the approval is null and void.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion to approve this as presented, contingent upon the variance being granted pertaining to the setback by the Board of Adjustments by Commissioner Julio Dumas, seconded by Commissioner Howard Dalton. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
I'd like to offer a substitute motion.
Mr.
Well,
I'm gonna recognize Mr. Sadler.
So that I
first and
understand the
second.
first motion, before we talk about maybe a substitute motion, Mr. Dumas, does your motion, since it's not addressed directly, include granting of a variance for the T turnaround?
I personally think the T turnaround is a safety issue, but I understand the vast amount of land that they have here. And someday when they come in and divide the rest of the 240 acres, they'll have to address safety issues, so I'm okay with it for now.
Thank you.
That is granting the
Variance.
Okay. All right, so in that motion, we are granting the variance for the T turnaround.
Right.
Commissioner Nance?
That was my,
Okay, so you're withdrawing
Right.
your, okay. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, only that we restate the
So-
motion now with this
Okay.
this additional change.
All right, so I will restate the motion. I will move for approval of the family partition with the variance for the T turnaround, subject to the Board of Adjustment approving the requested variance to the setback. In the event the Board of Adjustment does not grant the waiver to the setback, then the approval shall be deemed null and void.
Have a motion to approve with condition, or with the condition of, or with the variance of the T turnaround, conditioned on the approval of a variance for the setbacks by the Board of Adjustments. And if the Board of Adjustments doesn't grant the variance, then the approval is considered null and void by Commissioner Julio Dumas. Seconded by Commissioner Howard Dalton. Okay. Since there's gone through discussion at this time, we'll go ahead and vote. Commissioner Dalton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Nance?
yes,
Commissioner Kluwat?
Yes.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yes.
Commissioner Esnarn?
Yes.
Commissioner Zarazua Gradine?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, item 10B, the Philip J. LeBlanc Jr. property, lots 1 and 2.
Asking for planning permission approval on the Philip J. LeBlanc Jr. Family Partition Survey.
Any comments or questions from commissioners? If there are no comments or questions from commissioners at this time, then we'll open it up for a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come up and address the commission on this item, please sign in with the secretary, and you'll get 3 minutes to address the commission. No one wishing to address the commission. Public hearing is closed on this. Comments or questions from commissioners? There are no comments or questions from commissioners. What is the wish of the commission?
I move to approve with the variance eliminating the T turnaround.
I have a motion to approve with the variance of the T turnaround by Commissioner Nance, seconded by Commissioner Kluwat. Discussion.
I think the only thing I would ask is that they comply with the request to label the firm map as requested in the staff.
Okay, Commissioner Nance, do you have a problem with
No, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve, approval with the variance and label. The date of the firm map is requested by staff, by Commissioner Nance. You still second that, Commissioner Lewis? Okay. There's no further discussion. At this time, we'll go ahead and vote. Commissioner Dalton?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Nance?
Yes,
Commissioner Kluwat?
Yes.
Commissioner Sadley?
Yes.
Commissioner Esnard?
Yes.
Commissioner Zarazua Gradine?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Okay, item 11 was pulled from the agenda, so we move on to, or was pulled last week before last, was it, staff? That was pulled? Item 11, East
Oh,
Creek Shadows, that was
yeah.
pulled last week?
They pulled 7 days before the agenda was ready.
Then we'll move on to item 12, public hearing to approve or deny the following small planned unit development final plat. 12A Parisian Villas, it's a small planned unit development. Mr. Murphy?
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Derek Murphy of Quality Engineering and Surveying, representing the developer for Parisian Villas. This is the last step for these lots. We recently had the developer agreement come before y'all and get passed by the council. We've had our final inspection, punch list items are taken care of. We've answered the comments by the staff, and you know, in terms of Mr. Kluot, final is final in this case, as all items have been addressed. And we're here before you asking for approval on this plat. Open for questions.
Comments or questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sadler?
The staff recommends denial as the final inspection was not complete by the deadline. And sentence above it, Mr. Murphy, it says as of 5/3, just a few days ago, 2011, a final inspection is not taking place. You're alleging here that it was. When was the final inspection taking place, and is the staff totally aware of? We don't have it in our
The
packet.
final inspection was May 3rd, yes, sir.
Was when?
It was May 3rd,
May 3rd.
yes, sir.
The staff says as of May 3rd, 2011, a final inspection has not, I guess that was the word, not taken place. So I guess I'm confused as to what is the truth there.
I think there was an issue with the paperwork on when the packets actually went out that day, working with DPW and getting the packets, and the packets out to you guys. But final inspection was on the 3rd.
Well, since staff, Jeff, well, you and I had actually kind of talked about this as of Friday. No, was it Friday?
I can't remember what the exact date was when we discussed it, but I mean, and it might have been a amount of crossing paperwork and whatnot, but the deadline that went out into the comment letters was 5/3, and when I had inquired on the morning of the 3rd, it was told to me that the inspection hadn't taken place, and I guess I just didn't. It was never realized to me that it had taken place further in that day. So.
Okay, it was actually Wednesday.
It might have been across the paperwork, but
Right.
but
No, it was actually Wednesday, and the deadline was, because now I remember, I was there at the planning department. You gave them till noon. You had not received any paperwork as of noon Wednesday, so you couldn't get the packets out in time.
the way it functions is the final inspection, from my understanding, because I'm working from the planning side, and this all takes place on the engineering and Department of Public Works side, is that once the final inspection takes place, a punch list is created, and everything on that punch list has to be approved. And if I'm saying anything wrong, Tori, like, correct me. But once all those steps have been completed, we finally get the paperwork. So, to my understanding, that a final inspection, paperwork has to be produced, and then the paperwork has to be given to me. And so, I mean, there's some steps there, and so that may be the reason why the paperwork had crossed. I'm not for sure, but I know by May 3rd I didn't have anything.
That's correct.
All right.
And with as I stand here tonight, the construction aspects of the punch list items have been completed to date. The paperwork has been turned in, and the developer agreement items such as the trees and walking trails and so forth have been completed and installed.
Mr. Kluot?
Mr. Jeff, so you're saying that on the day that the package went out, in that time frame, its final inspection was made, and all punch list items were completed and finished, and everything was done to the satisfaction of the parish, and it just got crossed in the paperwork is basically what you're saying?
And I'm not even, you'd have to ask the engineering department if everything has been completed to the satisfaction, because by the time the packets go out, I still haven't received anything. So I don't know if the engineering department can answer better that question or not.
Okay, would you please,
From my understanding, we received the last documentation either yesterday afternoon or this morning, and we haven't been able to review, finish the review yet.
so you're saying that y'all have not reviewed the last documents?
No. No, we haven't.
Mr. Chairman, maybe to best expedite this matter, Mr. Murphy, I realize on March 9th, our Joint Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the developmental agreement, and I see a parish council has acted upon that recommendation early April by approving it. And so now we're here into this meeting, but the word final to me is very important. I would like to approve, your final document, your final plot here today, but without, I hope you would realize all the information we needed in terms of that punch list and the controversy that now exists about when it was filed and what it really says. I mean, it's very difficult for me to act. So I'm of the mind that Mr. Chairman, that we ought to entertain a motion that would, providing that's legal, and we're not getting into any issues of 60 days and the other things that we've learned, to postpone, I think is the correct word, not defer this issue until we see that final plat information and all the I's dotted again and the T's crossed.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dalton?
I think it's pretty clear that, at least it is to me, that the deadline was not met by the applicant.
Correct.
So until those papers are properly reviewed and the due process is afforded to protect everybody, including the parish, I also have to concur with a postponement. I think that's the safe thing for this commission to do at this point in time.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Nance?
would you ask legal if we can postpone it, or do we have to deny it?
Ms. Manda, what are our options here?
The 60-day requirement applies to the preliminary plat. So with the 60-day, I see no requirement that you have to approve or deny. But you could certainly, if you're uncomfortable with not having a definite answer at this time, you could deny and then have them appeal at the next meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, why not approve with contingencies that all paperwork will be considered, or all paperwork has been processed?
If that's what the commission chooses to do, Mr. Murphy, that's what it will do.
Okay. Well, I'm asking.
Right now, we're still in discussion. I haven't even opened up the public hearing on this.
I understand.
So I'd kind of like to at least do that if there is anyone here that wants to address the commission on this. And then I'd like the commissioners to go ahead and have a little further discussion on this to see what options we are gonna look at.
Yes, sir.
So, is there any more comments or questions from commissioners? All right, then I'm gonna open up a public hearing on this. Anyone wishing to come up and address the commission on this item, please sign in and you'll get your 3 minutes to speak. Okay, and we have no one wishing to address the commission on this item, so the public hearing on this is closed. All right, some further comments or questions from commissioners? Well,
I'd like to ask
Mr.
staff a
Dumas.
question.
go ahead.
So the inspections have taken place, and the punch lists have been satisfied. You just haven't had a chance to review the paperwork to make sure that all of the documentation is in fact submitted
Yes,
and
sir.
in hand.
Yes, sir.
So you don't have a doubt that the physical work's been done. You just have an issue of verifying the paperwork that they've submitted, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr.
All right,
Chairman,
yes.
Mr. Dalton?
these deadlines are well published. And it's
Absolutely.
incumbent upon an applicant or a developer to meet said deadlines. And I think we need to get out of this contingency business and have it in black and white, quite frankly.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you, Commissioner Dalton, if I may. I think that, you know, once a subdivision is approved, the engineering drawings are completed, and the work is being done and what have you, you know, it's really in the hands of the technical staff and the inspectors, and I guess that's why I tend to be far more indiscriminate about those deadlines, although I'm a stickler for deadlines. I understand the situation, you know, where once you're physically building, you know, you're at the subject, although we haven't had any rain, you're at the subject of weather, you're at the subject of an awful lot of other issues that you can't control. And that's the only reason why I tend to think that once this is in the hands of the technical staff, it becomes a fairly perfunctory process.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Dahl.
respond. I understand your comments. However, a contingency approval removes the final approval process from this commission and gives it to somebody else. Therefore, I have to reiterate, let's get it in black and white, all the reports, staff's comments in black and white, and then the final approval rests with us where it should.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just vetting it out, that's all.
I understand.
Mr. Kluwat?
Staff, your first comment was to deny the final inspection. Based on knowing what you know now, does that recommendation still stand?
And again, from the planning side of it, we haven't seen anything, we don't have a letter or anything saying I don't have the punch list in front of me, I don't have a letter from the engineering or Department of Public Works saying, so from this point, I mean, I can't say that I would change the recommendation, especially since we've already given the recommendation, so.
Well, that makes it cut and dry.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? All right.
The commissioners, I ask for a deferment then for 30 days.
All right, we have the applicant requesting a deferment or postponement for, until our next regularly scheduled meeting.
So he's agreeing to waive any requirement if there were a time period? Are you agreeing to waive the time constraints?
Yes.
Then? Just wanna make sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that would be my concerns, that the applicant is doing away with any kind of time frame and agreeing to the 30-day extension or deferred or postponement. And you are agreeing to that here in the minutes of this meeting where we don't get into trouble with any time frames. You are hereby stating that you agree to the extension. You waiving all any time frames. And have it put on next month's meeting. Are you doing that, Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Okay. I would like that to be in the minutes of the meeting so that if we do have anything come up with any type of time frame, we do have a record saying that the engineering for the development has agreed to the extension of the time. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? All right, what's the wish of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I would like
Mr.
to
Dalton.
move that we approve the applicant's request for a 30-day deferment, and this be placed on the agenda for our next regularly scheduled meeting.
I have a motion to postpone this item till our next regularly scheduled meeting by Commissioner Howard Dalton,
And it's on their agenda for the next meeting.
and place it on next month's agenda. And seconded by Commissioner Kluwat. Discussion. If there's no discussion at this time, we'll go ahead and vote. Commissioner Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Barrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Nance?
Yes.
Commissioner Kluwat?
Yes.
Commissioner Sadley?
Yes.
Commissioner Esnard?
Yes.
Commissioner Zarazua Gradine?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 13, public hearing to recommend approval or denial to the parish council of the following servitude revocation. 13A, Old Dutchtown subdivision, second filing, lot 69. This is a revocation of a 20-foot drainage servitude. Is there anyone here representing this?
Good evening. Brandon Acosta, GWS Engineering. I'm here representing the owner and developer. We have no objection from the Drainage Department to revocate this 20-foot drainage servitude. I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Any comments or questions from commissioners at this time? Mr. Kluwat?
You're saying you're here representing the applicant?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. This is a very hard thing for us to, when it comes before, about doing away with a drainage servitude. The drainage servitude is put in place when the subdivision is formed. And quite often the applicant comes in and asks us to do away with the servitude, drainage servitude. I visited the property, and it looks like the pipeline itself drains into, or the property of the pipeline drains to that servitude. And I grant it, it's a very, very small shallow swell for the drainage. Now, if we do away with that, that's going to hamper drainage for Lot 69. Are they aware of that? That their drainage problems will now, where they will have no drainage from their land. They will have no drainage at all, because that land does drain from midway back of the house, midway of the house to the back, and then from the front midway to the front. And I realize it's a very small swell, and it doesn't do us any good for you engineers to come and put a subdivision together with a drainage servitude, and then later on somebody comes and asks us to revoke that servitude. Y'all did it when you designed the subdivision. You put it there for a reason. Now, what is the reason they're wanting to do away with this particular drainage servitude?
To answer, you want me to answer your first question or the one you just asked me?
You can do any, you can answer it
The
anyway.
first question being that they won't have drainage if you take away the servitude, basically, is what you said. That's incorrect. They can simply grade, if they had to. They don't have drainage problems. It drains off the back. But if they had to, they will still be connected to an existing 20-foot drainage servitude at the back of Lot 68. When I design a subdivision, technically, a lot of times, it gets overlooked sometimes. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. You don't have to go to the end lot in the line, because that lot is going to touch that drainage servitude, and he can drain to that if it's a swale, and in this case, there is no swale. But that can be the beginning of the swale, and then he can take his water to the beginning of that swale. It doesn't have to actually be on his lot. That's one answer. The second part, it was discovered this plat has been done since '05. I think the applicant or the lot owner, in burning trash, a member of the pipeline company, informed them that they were on the pipeline. And what it was is old maps didn't have the correct servitude located for the pipeline. And the pipeline, actually, the guy lost a good section of his yard. It's basically that the kink that we show on our plat dated '05, he lost, I have a little sketch, a piece of that, and he wanted to do some backyard improvements, I think a patio, courtyard type deal. And this would help him regain some of that property that he could construct something on.
So
that's
you're saying that, oh, excuse me.
That's basically the reason for the revocation.
Okay, so you're saying the in-lot can actually drain to the back servitude of drainage servitude. It
He will
doesn't
still
necessarily
have-
have to protrude across the back.
He will still
edge.
have access to the 20-foot drainage servitude. It would be at the edge of his property. If he wanted to put a pipe on his property or put a swale, he can drain to that portion of the servitude that touches the property line. He has access to that servitude. Even though it's not on his lot, he still has access to that servitude, if that makes any sense.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Satterley?
just to be clear, in the letter to yourself, Mr. Marchand from GWS in our packet, I'm looking for a date here, I apologize for that. March 25th, first paragraph, quote, "The basis for this revocation is to increase the buildable area as a servitude has never been in use." So if we grant this, picking up on what Commissioner Kluwat said, or even what you said, drainage could still occur, but there's nothing to keep the folks from actually filling in the slight little indentation that I saw when I visited the property there, and then actually building on it and having, again, no drainage whatsoever. Is that not true?
But it's their lot. That's the key point. They're not impeding anybody's drainage.
Well, so is all the other lots, 68, 67,
draining.
66.
Yeah, but
Any one of those could come before us and say, "I'd like to take the 20-foot."
No, because
drainage
by law, you cannot impede someone else's drainage.
What is the direction of flow of?
He's at the upstream end. It goes away
So
from
is
his
it
lot.
going southward?
He's at the upstream end, it's draining the original swale that oftentimes get filled in by homeowners, whoever. It goes downstream from him, so it goes towards 68, 67. He's at the upstream end of what was the swale. He's the upstream end.
Mr. Kluwat?
So really and truly, he's where actually the drainage servitude starts.
Correct. Correct.
And I can concur with you that it's hardly no drainage servitude there at all. I walked it. It's a very small indication of a drainage servitude looking at the property toward the left.
Right. And that's common. I mean, homeowners, builders get in there, and our swales a lot of times become flat backyards. Common problem in the parish.
Mr. Nance?
One question, did the homeowner, when he bought that lot, did he know that that drainage servitude was back there?
I can't answer for him on that. I mean, I would personally, but you'd have to ask
Okay,
him.
next question, if we eliminate that drainage servitude, how is the parish, if they had to get into that, the rest of those? I don't have it in my packet how they would get in there.
Again, I can't answer for the parish, but all I can tell you is that they did give their no objection. The guys that are in charge of this stuff didn't object.
They give recommendations to get rid of all the time, and they've never seen it.
I can't answer for them, though.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Mr. Dalton?
Well, Commissioner Nance, I don't think that's our problem. If the parish drainage people locate it, it's their problem if they can't get to it.
I think their letter clearly states that they performed a site visit.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? If there's no other comments or questions at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to come up and address the commission on this item, please sign in with the secretary, and you will get your 3 minutes to speak. No one wishing to address the commission on this item, so the public hearing on this is closed. Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the parish council the approval of the revocation of the requested drainage servitude from lot 69 of the subdivision in question.
Can I, Mr. Dumas, would you put in your motion that the homeowner cannot come back to the parish with drainage problems due to the fact that we are eliminating that drainage servitude?
I don't mind including it in the motion, but I don't think that you can prevent future landowners from something like that, but yes, I'll include it, but again, with the understanding that you can't legally bar future landowners, somebody that might buy that in the future.
I agree with that.
Are you still asking that, well, you don't, no, are you still asking that it's included in the motion?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion to recommend approval of the revocation of this drainage servitude with a stipulation that the property owners don't, if there's drainage problems, the property owners don't come back to the parish by Commissioner Julio Dumas.
This property owner, yes.
The property owner of Lot 69 by Commissioner Dumas, seconded by Commissioner Kluwat. Discussion. If there's no discussion,
Mr.
we'll go ahead.
Chairman, I
Mr.
just
Barrow.
interested in whether legally we can put a stipulation on this particular property owner and as opposed to all future ones. Does legal have any?
I don't believe you can put a stipulation, and when it goes before the council, I don't think you should have a stipulation on there. I think you either agree to revoke it, or recommend revocation, or recommend that not be revoked.
I can offer a substitute motion.
I withdraw my condition.
Just let him restate it.
So,
I make a motion to recommend to the parish council that they approve the revocation of the servitude for lot 69.
and I have a motion to recommend approval to the Parish Council the revocation of the drainage servitude on Lot 69 by Commissioner Julio Dumas, seconded by Commissioner Milton Kluwat. If there's no further discussion on this, then we'll go ahead and vote. Commissioner Dalton.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Nance.
No.
Commissioner Kluwat. Commissioner Sadley.
Yes.
Commissioner Esnard.
Yes.
Commissioner Zarazua Grading.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 14, committee report. I will now hear from our subcommittee, subdivision ordinance committee chairman, Mr. Kluwat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to address one small item that was mentioned in the parish council meeting that I attended to last week. There was a lot said about the subdivision ordinance that we needed to overhaul or revive, or whatever you want to call it, to the subdivision ordinance committee, to the subdivision regulations in the land development code. I would want to let everyone know that we're in the process of doing that right now. We running against a lot of obstacles. We're trying to find out some legal opinions on some things, but to answer a lot of the councilman's questions, are we doing it, or is it being done? Yes, we are right now. And I'd like for some of the councilmen to possibly attend some of these meetings with their concerns about the subdivision regulations. And with that in mind, I'm going to move to, we have several items on the agenda that I would like to put, our chairman to put on the next month's agenda for a public hearing. The first one, LDC Section 174090, proposed amendments. We have pulled that from the committee, from the report tonight. We will not address that. It's going back to committee. We seem to have a little legal problems that we got to address. The next thing is the sign requirements for subdivision, public notice signs that I'd like to ask that be put on the next month's agenda for public hearing and actions on that. I would also like to put the 60-day waiver on for public hearing on next month's agenda to discuss and act and see about sending to the parish council. We'd also like to put the servitude agreement policy on the agenda for next month to address that. And right now, all those items I'm asking to be put as a public hearing in next month's agenda before this commission to address it and come up with ordinance, revive the ordinances that need to be revived, or new ordinances that need to be new ordinances, and send it to the parish council at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, well, I have a motion to have a motion to place the recommendations of the subcommittee on next month's agenda for public hearing by Julio Dumas, seconded by Bob Nance. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion, then we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Dalton.
Yes.
Mr. Barrow.
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Nance.
Yes.
Mr. Kluwat.
Yeah.
Mr. Sadley.
Yes.
Mr. Esnard.
Yes.
Ms. Zarazua Grading.
Yes.
Motion passes. Is all you have for your report, Mr. Kluwat?
No, I should say, I had a nice, good visit with DOTD yesterday. And I've asked our chairman to do some things, and at this point in time, Mr. Chairman, would you please advise in relation to my meeting with DOTD about traffic?
Well, staff, what I'd like to do is I'd like for y'all to contact DOTD, Mr. Dwight Fox, and invite him and any of his colleagues that would like to attend with him to next month's meeting to if they'd be interested to give the commission a presentation on the traffic issues in Ascension Parish from the DOTD perspective. Since traffic seems to, or continues to be the primary thorn in our side, I think it's time we commission opens up a dialogue with DOTD and let's start addressing some of these things. So, if y'all would go ahead and send that invitation to them, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, and staff, these gentlemen all said they would love to come. And what prompted me, commissioners, to sort of investigate this was the Bouillon Crossing. I was really, really, truly surprised at some of the things that I found that took place in the process of the approval from DOTD. It's very, very disheartening to know that some of the stuff that took place could have been prevented with communication, and that is some of the reasons why that I would like for all of us, the staff, the commission, and everybody get together and start coming up with a process the way we do this. And meeting with these gentlemen, they gave me a tremendous amount of ideas that's working in other parishes and doing quite well and helping with the infrastructure of the road systems in the other parishes. And that is one of the main reasons why I asked Chairman Marchand to set up a meeting to get these gentlemen here. And I would like to talk to staff after the meeting on a few things that I would like to be cleared on a couple items as well. Thank you.
Would you like to tell everybody when your next subcommittee meeting is? Give them the date.
Yes, we will be meeting next Wednesday, 5 o'clock, DPW, and that's a standing meeting every month at 5. And I will come up with a little bit more rules. We've kind of been sort of like a little laxed in the way we did it, so we have a lot to get done, and we kind of bogging down. So when we attend that meeting next week, we're going to have a little bit of rules that we're going to go by to maybe possibly speed up some of the things that we'd like to get done, because we have a tremendous amount to get done, especially if any one of y'all had ever watched or would intend to watch the Parish Council meeting of last week. Subdivision Regulation Committee was brought up, and the regulation was brought up quite a few times. And I just want the Parish Council to know that we are going to rework those rules.
Thank you. Okay, item 15, new business. Any commissioner has any item of new business that would like to bring up for the group? All right, if not, I do have one. I'd like to announce that the bylaws subcommittee will be meeting also next Wednesday at 4 o'clock at the DPW, hopefully in the DPW conference room also. Item 16, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
I have a motion by Bob Nance to adjourn, seconded by Julio Dumas. Is there any opposition or discussion? Motion passes. We're adjourned, and we will reconvene in 10 minutes as the Zoning Commission.